Hey, Shalom. First off, I want to start off by saying all praises to Yahweh Bashim Shai, Bashim Rakar Kadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and mercy to the hopeful light, preaching this word in truth and sincerity. This is Brother Tazabah, Lord will, with another video to edify. In the name of who the world calls God, his true name is Yahweh, and who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, his true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai.
Group called Humanitarian Relief Foundation, or IHH, and it does, as she mentioned, have links with Turkey's ruling party, and also is best known for helping to organize that flotilla of aid ships to the Gaza Strip in May. Ken O'Keefe was on one of those ships and joins us now to talk more about this. Hey there, Mr. O'Keefe. I want to talk first about your experience. I understand you were on one of those ships, one of those flotilla aid ships. Talk to me about your experience and what you think that incident, the effect that incident has had so far.
Well, what the incident proves is that we as people who've conscience, who actually care about the world we live in, can affect change in a meaningful way if we act in unison and we act intelligently. The accusation that we were in any way acting as terrorists is really the pot calling the kettle black. The biggest terrorist on the planet, without question, if we ask the Iraqi people and the Afghani people, is the United States of America. So it's pretty funny that we would actually give any credence to the United States listing anyone else as a terrorist when they, in fact, are the biggest terrorists themselves.
Well, I want to talk about...
This is Isaiah 14. And 6. He who smote the people in wrath. Isaiah 14:4 says, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? And Babylon today is America the Great. That's the new Babylon. And the king of Babylon would be your presidents, And it says, verse 5, Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continuous stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. And that's what's happening, man. He's being persecuted. He's being labeled as what he is in the earth. He is a terrorist, man. He's a plague that the Lord sent upon earth, man. And his time's almost out.
This letter written by 87 U.S. senators that basically said that the IHH is a group affiliated with Hamas, and Hamas, as you know, has been designated as a terrorist organization. I just want to hear your take on the unofficial characterization of a terrorist group of IHH.
Well, if we recall, back in the 80s, Nelson Mandela was serving a life sentence without parole for refusing to renounce violence, and Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan were calling him a terrorist. It seems today that it's a great compliment to those of us who actually care about the world that we live in to be called a terrorist from the biggest terrorist on the planet. It's absurd that we would give any credence to it as far as I'm concerned. The real truth is that
Psalms 55:19, the Most High shall hear and afflict them, even he that abideth of old, Salah. Because they have no changes, therefore they fear not the Most High. He poured forth his hand against such as be at peace with them. He had broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's what Esau's been doing, man, throughout the whole world. It's not just to the 12 tribes of Israel, which that's really what it comes down to, is the importance is because he did it to the children of the Heavenly Father. But he's been doing this throughout the whole world.
The policies of America and Israel and Britain, through its endorsement of these policies, are acting with the most extreme example of terrorism. If we look at the actual definition of the word, who is being terrorized and who is carrying out the terrorism? The United States is number one.
But let's be honest, I mean, a lot of groups on this.
Psalms 50. Psalms 50 and start at 16 and jump down. But unto the wicked the Most High saith, what thou hast It says, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? Verse 19, thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. And that's what he's done. Esau's given his mouth to evil, and his tongue framed deceit. He calls other people terrorists, but he's the one that's terrorizing them. You know, he wants sympathy for the other bullies. You know, he's a bully that wants sympathy. The scriptures tell you that he sat as a well in the midst of the sea. The sea is compared to the people, because you can read that in Revelation when it tells you the sea are nations and peoples and tongues and kindreds. Verse 20, thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thy own mother's son. And that's talking about how he does with Jake, you know, you 12 tribes, you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and the confusion of face that look like the other nations. Verse 21, these things hast thou done, and I kept silent. Thou thoughtest I was altogether such a one as thee, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thy eyes. And the ones that he's setting in order before the so-called white man's eyes, you know, who are the wicked Edomites, you so-called white people, through your deeds and through your lineage, you proving yourself to be the wicked of the earth. You know, the Lord said he's going to set the Israelites back in order in front of your eyes, and that's why you see men out there on the highways and byways preaching this word.
List put out by the State Department really do have some, of course, as we pointed out, there are humanitarian aid groups there, but a lot of these groups, Mr. O'Keefe, have some really, really terrifying and horrifying crimes under their belt. I mean, you're really saying it's flattering for you to be on the same list with these people?
Well, the IDF has just accused me of being a terrorist operative, in their own words, and apparently I was heading to Gaza to train commando units for Hamas. That's Israel, America's #1 ally, the one who's using white phosphorus and other weapons to kill and destroy lives, including hundreds of children. So if you ask me, does it impress?
This is John 10:10. It says, the thief cometh not but to steal and to kill and to destroy. The thief. Who's the thief? Who's the one going throughout the world killing, stealing, and destroying? You got to understand who that is, man. The so-called white man stole every land that he has. He came out of the Caucasus Mountains, and he went throughout the world conquering and stealing people's lands by unrighteous means. Never fought a fair war. Always did the sneaky shit. Went in at the dead of night while the men were away with the Gadites, the North American Indians. Went in at the dead of night while the men were out there, or through the break of day when the men were out there hunting, and he started slaughtering the women and children. You know, burnt them in their huts, you know, in their tents. Verse, it says, reading on, it says, I am come that they might have life, and the day he's talking about is Israel, man, and that they might have it more abundantly.
Me what the United States says. No, I'm not impressed at all, and I think all of us who have any kind of mind, any independent ability to think whatsoever, can see it for what it is.
Let's talk about this list itself. Who do you think stands to benefit by having a list like this put out every year?
I got a quick one. This is Habakkuk 2. And 5 is, because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keeping at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and it as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto himself all nations and heap unto himself all people. You see, this is what he's done. You know, not only this, but you have their, I believe it's Iran sitting there labeling calm something. I forget what it's called. Labeling calm something, which is a U.S.-backed so-called humanitarian aid group, which really just is it's basically like a military group that's supposed to be there for relief. They've been labeled as terrorists by the Iranian government. You know, they're sitting there telling them straight up, man, you're a terrorist. You got to get the fuck out. You know, Verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against them, and taunting proverb against them, saying, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long, and to him that laid himself with this thick clay? Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? And that's what we're coming into the times, man. The whole world is tired of the so-called white man's bullshit, man. Even over here in America, you got other Edomites tired of they fucking people, man. There's a whole nation full of crooks, liars, stealers, connivers, unrighteous men's freaks, wicked people. There's a whole nation of that.
Well, the benefactors are the ones who are trying to cover their own crimes. And obviously, again, we come back to the United States. There are 1 million dead people in Iraq, plus there are how many untold amounts of people dead in Afghanistan. America is bombing Pakistan, even though it's not at war with Pakistan, and Pakistan was their ally throughout this so-called war on terror. It is completely absurd that we would listen to the United States and give credence to their accusations of terrorism. Again, they are the number one terrorist. How can we ignore that fact? And as far as I'm concerned, let me make clear, I'm proud to have been associated with IHH. The amount of work that they've done to help people and support human rights around the world is indisputable. The accusations that they are terrorists are false, baseless, and if we believe in due process of law, show the proof. Convict them in a court of law justly. Otherwise, it's baseless accusations.
All right, Ken O'Keefe, and I should mention also that you are a Gulf War veteran, former Marine, and now a member of the humanitarian aid group to help Gaza.
Boom.
Group called Humanitarian.
This is the last one, the Psalms. Because he just said, this is an Edomite that was in Esau's military. At one point, he believed this system, and what's happening? It says, Psalm 64:8. So they shall make their tongues fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. You know, and that's what we're seeing, man. So, Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to say, call Allah, Yahweh, Bashim, Ashai, Bashem, Rakal, Kodash, double honor to elders and apostles of great millstone, and peace and mercy to hopeful elect. Shalom.